My name is John, and this is Please Allow Me. Today we sit with a real sweetheart, a restaurateur whose new spot will open in the greater Boston area in early 2021. He's a DJ and a professional drummer. He studied under Alan Dawson, Zeffro Giannetti, Bob Galati, Dave DeCenzo, Fred Buda, and Marty Richards. He's opened for the Wailers, Miranda Lambert, Eric Church, Luke Bryan, Little Big Town, Sam Hunt, and Kelsey Ballerini. He's toured with the New Soul Nation, Springo Freen, and The Vibe. Until the COVID restrictions relax, we're going to have to find him spinning the ones and twos and working on the Wheels of Steel on his Facebook page. Please allow me to introduce Dave Sardella. Hambone Dave, what the hell's going on,
What's
my
happening,
man?
my man?
Oh, listen to that voice, man. You sound like a late night radio DJ.
Ladies.
Yeah, it sounds like the counterpart to Delilah's Pillow Talk.
I think I missed my calling.
You may have. What's been going on, man?
Trying to survive like the rest of us, homie.
I hear that. What are you drinking, tequila?
Oh, man, this is some good elixir right here.
Dude, I've been recently trying to get into tequila, and so I've just been buying all these bottles, and I'm an idiot, so I just assume that if it costs the most, it must taste the best. Talk to me. What's your favorite?
Not necessarily. Price does not equate quality. What I would say is this. My personal favorite, Herradura, Reposado. And I'll say that because of this. I actually got a chance some years back to visit Herradura. I got to go to the distillery. It's unbelievable. It's the cleanest distillery I've ever seen. And when we were driving out there, this is one of those things that they don't put on a label. You can't see it on a label, right? It doesn't exist. The guy who's driving the van out to the distillery says, "Hey," he goes, pulls over to the side of the road. He goes, "I just want to show you guys something." And it's like a sea of agave, either side of the road. One side, just as far as the eye can see, just agave plants, and the other side, as far as the eye can see, agave plants. And he goes, "I want you to notice. What do you notice about it that's different?" And we noticed on one side, it was perfectly hoed rows of agave, nice, tall, beautiful, mature plants. On the other side, they hadn't been weeded. It was a mess, and they were real young. I'm not going to say names of the brands because I don't want to blow anybody up.
No, don't do that.
The one that was tall and majestic and had been cared for and was beautiful was a Herradura field. And he said, the thing is, they pull the weeds out so it keeps that soil rich and it's not pulling nutrients away from the plant. On the other side is X brand, which is a very popular.
You can do the math.
Yeah, you can figure it out.
So it's like anything else. Like the better you take care of it, the more you nurture it and take care of its surroundings, the better product is yielded.
Well, that's it. And it's just like, so it came down to that. It was very impactful. And I remember being struck by that. Then we get to the distillery and you could eat off the floor of this place. It was unbelievable. And then we're sitting outside. He says, "Before we go inside, I want to point something else out to you." And he's pointing at the side of the building and it's covered in this black fungus, which I thought was like, okay, is that good or is this bad? And he says, "It's good because all these lime trees around here attract this fungus. So the fermentation happens naturally. There's no yeast. They don't use any yeast. So they can put the word natural on their label." Oh. He had me. That was it. I was sold.
So it's a natural process of the fermentation there? Interesting. Yeah. Very cool.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But this here that we're drinking right here, this stuff you gave me, this Casamigos, is unreal. And it's the closest thing I've tasted to the Herradura.
Really?
Damn.
Yeah, Casamigos, you can find me for sponsorships at jc@pleaseallowmepodcast.com.
You really should.
Yeah. You need to send me a case of the good stuff.
Send it over. Come on. I think George, he's not involved with that anymore, is he? George Clooney?
Honestly, I have no idea. The first Casamigos I got was when I moved into this place, and one of my friends got me a bottle.
Yeah.
And I wasn't quite ready to embrace it yet because when I was younger and I would drink tequila, like lots of bad shit would happen.
Well, you were probably drinking the crap. What were you drinking back then?
I mean, listen, when I was in my 20s, I would drink whatever they put in front of me, and I would drink all of it. So
as would I.
Yeah. So, once in a while I rearranged a small bar or a town. And so I was a little bit afraid to go back to tequila. And then as I got a little bit older, I thought to myself, I just can't be drinking beers all the time. And I feel like such a pussy when I drink wine, even though I really enjoy it. I needed something a little bit more manly to get involved in. I don't love scotch or whiskey. Just the flavor doesn't resonate with me. And so I said, I'm going to start getting into tequila. It's something I can investigate and all these other things. And I found that the silvers and the blancos were best for me because they were aged the least in the oak casks. So I didn't get a lot of that smokiness. Reposados I can do. The añejo I don't love.
It's a little too much.
Yeah, I'm drinking a little bit of
This
silver.
is my travel drink, man. When I'm in the airports, I always go for the tequila.
Yeah, this is my travel drink too. When I'm driving, I just have a bottle between my legs.
That's the move.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, and it fits great in the console.
Yeah.
You got to get the one that goes right in the cup holder. It's perfect for that.
That's smart.
No.
And
I used to work for a guy years ago. No word of a lie. This guy would tell me how long it would take to get somewhere by how many beers he drank. Like, so it was an insurance company in Waltham. I don't even think it's there anymore. It was like a corporate insurance company, so they would insure like big companies and the equipment they used. And we had a tape library like in Norwood, and we had this Dodge Caravan that I'd have to drive the tapes down to this library in this place on Route 1. It was like everyone was excited when it was Tuesday because you got to leave the building for a couple hours. And I remember the first time, the guy's name was Joe. Joe was like, I was like, Joe, where am I going? This is before GPS, all this stuff. He's like, he goes, it's about a 6-pack. I go, what are you talking about? Right? I had no idea. It's a 6-pack? I get in the car. This is a company vehicle, by the way. He had beers stashed everywhere. Hot beer. Like just hot beers, just stuck in different places of the car. Like he would pull them out and gun them down. He had them in his desk. He had like a drawer he'd pull out, just be a bunch of room temperature Budweiser cans or something in there. Just that was his move.
He's a savage.
He was a savage. Sick breath. Just punch you in the face with it. You walk in the room, the guy's missing half his teeth.
You ever work like construction when you ever work like, it's tough to get in trouble with a boss like that. You ever work construction when you're like a little kid and or not a little kid, but I worked as a laborer and for my cousin or my uncle or whatever, or friends of friends. You get in one of these fucking trucks in the morning and these guys come in and the thermos is half full of like Buka coffee, and it's like, dude, how are you gonna manage the whole day? Once I start drinking, I gotta keep going. Like,
it doesn't go well for me.
No, it's not about maintenance. Like, I'm not having a sip at noon and a sip at noon 30 and all that. Like, if I start drinking, I mean, there's a means to an end.
Everything changes for me. There's a switch that goes off.
Same.
The first drink goes down. I'm ready to party. I don't want to go back and do responsible shit.
No. And it's like, I know people that will like have a beer or two and go to the gym. I can't do that shit.
Yeah. I'll smoke a fatty and do the gym though.
Yeah, I can't do that either.
When I was not like what you do. God, no. I would become people's punching bags, which essentially I probably would be anyways. But I'm talking about like lifting weights. When I go to the gym to lift weights, and which you can tell by this sick body, that's going on a lot.
We're gonna add video on the next podcast. So
you're welcome. You're welcome, America. No, when I would be lifting weights, so this was my move. This is the most flowery type of workout story you'll ever hear. I would play slow jams and ballads, get high, and do slow lifting. I'd be like, I'm getting ripped, make weird eye contact.
I mean, listen, I'm with the slow jams while you're lifting. I definitely do that.
I was into it, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I gotta go in like in a different frame of mind, and I can't be impaired in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's because you're an athlete.
Well, once upon a time, maybe, but
so there's that. Yeah. There's a big difference.
So when you're lifting at the gym, you got a soundtrack going for.
Yeah.
So what's on the soundtrack that you're listening to?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'll pop on some Sade. I'll put on some Luther.
Do you get how about the Sade? She's got the new box set. Have you seen that?
Oh, I haven't seen this.
Yeah. You got to follow her on Insta.
Okay. All right, now I'm onto it. I'm missing out.
Yeah, you're missing out.
But yeah, I'll go down that path. Then I'll get the slow jams going. And there's something about I know cats that go the other way. They got to have that going on. I'm with you. I feel you.
Yeah.
Keep the heart rate going.
For me, it doesn't matter. It's like as long as I'm interested in the music and it's like motivating me, it doesn't matter if it's like dee 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 dee. I don't really care if it's that. I don't do a lot of like the deep throat, raw, that type of shit. But so on Luther,
I don't do a lot of deep throating either. Just so we're clear.
Yeah. Noted.
Unless I really can't make rent.
There's a whole bottle of tequila over there. So, but with Luther though, do you feel like Luther gets dangerously close to like Peabo Bryson? And now you're going from Luther to Peabo Bryson, and it's a little bit like cheesy now.
Well, I don't want to dance with my father and all that stuff. Yeah, like it's a little bit like I'm gonna start weeping, and they could be like, "Who's the emotional guy on the?"
Don't worry about it. I just got Brian McKnight on while I'm squatting.
Right. But I'm down with that. Like that slow vibe. It kind of mellows it out. I'll do that. But other times, I just got to feel like I'm going to listen to some Frankie Beverly, Maze, You ever get into Frankie at all?
No, man. But I mean, I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah. Check out Laid Back Girl by Frankie Beverly and Maze sometime. That's a funk.
Have you ever listened to this guy on YouTube named Bill McClintock who does these fucking crazy mashups? Like,
oh yeah, you sent me a couple of those.
Yeah.
They're unbelievable.
Dude, how does he do that? You're the musician here. Tell me how he does that.
Okay, there's a couple of things going on. There's a few things that just work. Okay, so you'll hear a groove, and if the tempo is the same, this kind of goes along with they're essentially what DJs are doing a lot of times. DJs I work as a DJ. We meld together tunes all the time. We'll find tunes that are the same key and the same tempo or close in tempo, and you can find that you can stack and meld them together. And so that's essentially what these guys are kind of doing. They're taking things like Staying Alive, and what was the one they matched with Staying Alive? It was like AC/DC, Back in Black, and Staying Alive. That was one I heard it was early on that they stuck together, and it just makes sense. But you'll notice if you listen, they're also altering the pitch when it goes to the different sections of the tune.
It takes a trained ear to hear that. Like for me, I just hear, and it's like I don't know what criteria they're looking for to put those things together.
There's software where you can take a song and you can change the pitch of it, but the tempo stays the same. And so what they're doing is they're beat matching these two songs that are similar in groove or tempo, and they're similar in key. And then what they're doing is they're just basically they throw them together, and you can stack the opening part of Staying Alive is just a groove. It's just a pocket. It's a drum beat, bass, guitar. There's some keys in there. And then it's the same thing with Back in Black before the verse comes in. It's just a groove. It's guitar, bass, drums, and just laying it down. So you can take that section and loop it, which is what they're doing. And then they take the vocals from when, Barry Gibb comes in with his.
And his vocals are an instrument on their own, man. That guy.
How about writing an entire genre of music around falsetto? Like, dude, just get a chick singer. What's the deal, homie? Like, what are you doing? That whole thing, you can't tell. That's weird.
Yeah,
how
but
did he
worked.
discover that he wanted to do that all the time?
Well, let me ask you this question. Let me backtrack. So, are there?
I'm getting off track. I'm ADD people.
No, keep going.
We jump around a lot.
Are there people? So, are these computer programs that are matching the tempos and the beats and the pitch and everything else?
Yeah, you can quantize it.
Is that what people were doing by ear when they had like two turntables, two decks, and they were just like mixing and scratching back in the day?
Brilliant.
So how do you think the music?
Amazing?
How do you think technology has changed the music industry? Is it a positive? Is it a negative? Are we eliminating the artistic endeavor and just entering into a technological endeavor, or is the technological side of it an art in and of itself?
Well, it's all of those things. I've thought about this a lot. And I think, one of the things that I've noticed, I think we've all seen this, is that, and it's not just in music, it kind of bleeds through. A lot of the music that's popular today, let's look at hip hop, for example, just as hip hop or top 40, it's quantized, everything is pitch corrected, it's beat corrected. You can go into the studio now, you can lay down a beat. If you're not a great drummer, the engineer can sit there in Pro Tools or Logic or whatever they're using, they can tweak that groove or that beat to move the snare hit so it's back a hair and lines up more in line with the groove. They can do all these things, and they can
Could they make me sound like a good bass player?
Absolutely, homie.
That's some crazy.
They can do this.
That's some crazy software.
But you're good when you just pick it up. I mean, you look at. They could take it and they could fix a track. They could pitch correct vocals. They could pitch correct a bass line. They could pitch correct anything.
It's almost like the pitch correction has become its own style now because it's so overly corrected.
Part of the sound now. You hear the guy with the like.
He sounds like a fucking robot.
It's weird. So now that takes me back to is when you mentioned before how has it changed things. The thing that we're missing today that we loved about the old records was the imperfection of a human performance, which is never perfect.
Right.
It's never perfect. There's like, if you go back and you listen to, it's a fun one actually. If you go back and listen to Under Pressure,
tremendous song.
David Bowie did that with Queen, right? There's a moment in the song as they go into the outro, you hear David Bowie lose his breath. And they left it in. It's amazing. He loses. It's so obvious. I hear it every single time. I'm like, that's incredible. He ran out of breath and he comes back in. And it's just a funny little break in it. What any other engineer would be like, we're going to cut that out. And now we're going to make that perfect. And no one will ever know it was there. They chose to leave it in. There's mistakes that were happening in music back then. And it was the push and pull. The thing we love about Zeppelin, for example,
right,
is the fact that you had John Bonham laying down the most unbelievable, bombastic pockets like had never been heard before in the genre. You got John Paul Jones sitting just behind the beat, and you got Jimmy Page just ahead of the beat. So you had this really amazing push-pull thing going on that you can't really recreate without a lot of painstaking time on a computer. You can't recreate that because it was just this raw thing that was happening. So we're missing that. There's nobody in the studio like kind of testifying anymore, and it's not, it's rare. I mean, it exists. Those bands that are out there like Wilco, Dawes, there's some killer real bands that have a band vibe that are out there doing that stuff. But in the pop kind of mainstream thing, we need everything to be perfect. And you can see it when you look at our architecture around the city. Our architecture around the city is a complete reflection of like pop music. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be right angles and glass, and there's no sexy archways anymore. Right, really cool things happening in the architecture because it's the same mindset there that's in the pop music. It's just, it's got to be perfect. I need it to be perfect. It's got to fit in my box. It's got to be right here. I got to be able to control it. It's got to have the same 808 bass sound and the same hook and the same formulaic way to write the song, because we know that that's what the customer, the consumer wants to hear. They want to hear this formulaic hit. That sounds familiar to me.
There's a thing I think I read about in science called the law of limited sloppiness. And the idea is that when you're working in a scientific laboratory and your boss is standing over your shoulder, and I'm just paraphrasing all this shit, your boss is standing over your shoulder, you're going to measure everything perfectly and the beaker is going to be set up perfectly and you're going to do all the experiments perfectly. But then when your boss takes Friday afternoon off to go do whatever he's doing, you don't conduct the experiments with the exact precision that you would when he's looking over your shoulder. And we have something that's called the law of limited sloppiness. And in that process, you discover, invent, create, like figure other shit out that was unintentional. And I think I don't want the 13 people that are going to hear this to get heated at me if I say that I think Jonas Salk.
Look at you, number 11.
I think Jonas Salk is the guy who discovered penicillin, and I think it was a similar process. But I'm not really sure about that. But I hear what you're saying, and it's like, it brings me to another question, which is the first time I heard about a musical formula was when I read an article like maybe 25 years ago about Sheryl Crow, and that she was a music teacher. And she was like, no, music just goes like this. Like, I didn't know anything about music other than like this song sounded good and this song sounded like shit. And so basically she was following this formula. So now when I think about these formulas that musicians are following, is it basically, it's obviously just to get radio time so that they can get more exposure. But it seems like when we were younger, radio edits were a means to get you to purchase an album so that you could fall in love with other deeper tracks or B-sides that other people weren't necessarily privy to, who weren't going down that path. How has music changed in the digital age where people are not making albums as much as they're making singles for the radio?
Yeah. I mean, I'll draw another comparison that sort of illustrates this point. You know, it's you remember the explosion of vodka flavors that happened a few years ago? And it was beyond just like orange and raspberry and citron. It became
Right.
these confectionery flavors. It was like frosting and, you know, wedding cake.
Yeah, I think I went to the
cotton candy and
Yeah.
okay. So they being the innocuous they being the liquor industry, specifically vodka. They recognized that the consumer that was buying their product was the same people. Now they were adults, but they were the same people that were buying, you know, Hubba Bubba blueberry and, you know, Bubblicious watermelon back in the day.
Fucking clever fucks.
Right? So they knew these people, now they grew up and now they're adults and they want those flavors again. How do we get those to them?
Is there a Big League Chew flavor? Because I
There's
would
gotta be.
crush a
Oh,
bottle of Big League Chew flavor vodka.
I was all about the Big League Chew grape.
Grape,
Yeah,
dude.
we said it at the same time. That's it. The grape was the shit. Anyways, what they were doing, what these companies were doing is they were basically like, it was like, there's a line in The Boy in the Bubble by Paul Simon where he says, every generation throws a hero up the pop charts, right? Okay, so what they were doing with these vodka flavors is they were just basically, let's try this one. Let's see how many boxes we can sell. We don't give a shit about longevity.
Right.
Fuck about that. Let's sell how many cases of, you know, dingleberry vodka can I sell this month, or wedding cake or whipped cream or whatever crap flavor it was. Half of them didn't even make it. It's the same thing with pop music. You know, it's not about the album. It's not about longevity. It's how many units can I sell. It's all it is. It's just,
Right.
It's a consumer and it's an industry that's producing something the consumer wants. It's like making cheeseburgers.
So
I hate to say it like that. I don't mean to sound so dismal about the whole thing, but it's become a business. It's become, in this, not become, it is a business, has been for many years, but it's become this, it's become simplified, and they've kind of pulled that, you have to look hard to find it, but they've pulled a lot of the soul out of it. I don't find there's a lot of soul in today's R&B,
So that's one of the things that I
for
think,
example.
and you're a professional drummer and a DJ, and you know more about this than I do, but I feel like with the advent of YouTube and all these other social media sources, we get more of these kids that like can, in technology, like you were talking about before, like the computer programs, you get these kids that can like make one hit song
Right.
based on a computer program, and they get a bazillion likes, and then someone will put it on the radio maybe. And I think that like it's eliminated that kid who sat in his bedroom and was playing like, you know, playing along with you know, Zeppelin or whatever, and decided to make his own record. And like, there's not that sweat equity in it, it seems like, anymore. There's not, like, exactly like you said, there's not the soul in it anymore. And instead of like pouring your heart into an instrument, what you're doing is you're using an instrument as a means to dollar signs, which eventually everyone converts to that anyway. But at least the purity of the origin of like what I consider to be people who create music, it's about like pouring your heart and your soul into a form of art. Now, I can say that because I'm not a guy who's artistic, so I don't have any idea what that process is like, but that's my romantic vision of it.
Well, it's interesting. You know, you said a lot right there. You know, I think with regard to the sweat equity thing, I think that still exists. There is a huge portion of this generation and the next one, there are going to be those kinds of people that put in all that time and really work and sweat it on, you know, put in their 10,000 hours of practice to become true masters of their craft. That will never go away. But what you're also going to find is what YouTube has afforded, and many of these other mediums like have afforded the people, is the ability to dip their toe in this pool and to be able to do it without much talent. And I hate to say that because it sounds like I'm like sticking my nose in the air, but it's kind of true. I mean, like they throw around the word producer ridiculously easy. Like when people say genius all the time, like stop it. When someone was a producer, when they used this term producer at one point, you know, if you haven't seen it, you should go watch the the documentary on Quincy Jones. Okay. That should be what the standard of a producer is. This is a man that could go in and rewrite the entire arrangement for the horn section and the orchestra and everybody else just to get it right. He worked with Frank Sinatra and Michael Jackson and he worked with everyone. That was a producer.
So most people don't really even have any idea what a producer is. Like people like me, I don't know what the fuck a producer is. Like Timbaland's a producer. This guy's a producer.
Everyone throws a term around now. Some jackhole that writes a beat in his bedroom says, dude, I'm a producer now. What are you talking about? You're a producer.
So what's a producer?
A producer to me and to a lot of people like, musicians I respect, what we would call a producer is someone who understands music theory to the degree that they can actually write a chart and they can direct and properly and accurately direct real musicians. What they call a producer today is someone who basically just kind of creates a beat on a computer, and they all sound alike, by the way. It's the same beat. Everybody's doing the same.
It's formula.
It all sounds the same, and they think they're doing something unique because it's very easy to make something sound like stuff you hear on the radio. It's very easy. You could do it in GarageBand on your phone. We could create a beat right now on GarageBand on your phone, and it will sound dope.
Is that a testament to technology, or is that a knock on the music industry and how it's evolved?
Well, as a musician and someone that understands music, you would be more deft. You'd be more adept at developing a beat or kind of creating music in that using that tool. But they've made it so much easier, and there's pitch correct, there's quantization, there's all these things that will fix it and make it sound right. And make it sound like it's perfectly in the pocket. You could slow it down if it's a really difficult piece, part to play. It's got a lot of technical, like a lot of notes. You can slow it all the way down, play all the notes like uber molasses slow, and then speed it up, and you sound like you've got some sick technique.
Who fucking knew?
Yeah,
I can play 4 notes super slow.
Right, that's what I'm trying to say. Like you can write these grooves. And you write sick stuff on there, and I'm not even a keyboard player, but I was like writing these tunes and writing these keyboard parts because I could slow them down and then speed them back up, and it was all in pitch.
So you're a drummer by trade.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
What drew you to the Skins?
Oh man, the universe, dude! I didn't have a choice.
It's an affliction, right?
Yeah, I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, that's how I feel about my job. It's not. It's no longer a passion. It's an affliction. I'm in an abusive relationship with my profession.
You were really good at kicking people's asses. That's an amazing skill.
I used to be better at it.
I bet you're still pretty good. I could never do what you do, and here's why: I have too much of a temper. The one time I tried to do wrestling, I got beat. Like my first match, I got beat. I was pissed. I went after him. I tried to kick his ass. Like during the match, everyone was laughing like, yo, your boy's too hot-headed. I'm like, I have too much of a temper. I can't do that stuff. I have no discipline at all. Well, now at this point in my life, I might. But back then, no discipline.
So then you went, instead of beating people's heads, you were like beating Skins, beating the toms.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you started drumming?
So I kept begging my parents, man. I was second, third grade, asking them for drums. Every time I would see a musician on TV, I could not look away from the drummer. The movements... The fact that it's just everything about it, the rhythm, the way they control the music. I was just like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Animal was my favorite Muppet.
He was my favorite Muppet too, followed by Rolf, who played the piano.
Balls, dude.
Yeah.
He's like reminds me of like Dr. John, sort of. Rolf was the tits. Who was the hot hippie chick? I always wanted Rolf and her to hook up.
She had kind of dreadlocks.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore. You'd be culturally appropriating the Muppets' heritage.
Oh damn it!
You're out.
So I would pull my mother's pots out of the cupboard, man. I'd bang on those things. She used to cook with Crisco a lot, which helped this body. It was amazing. She did some good work. But I used to save all the Crisco cans, and then I'd have my dad go to the Chinese restaurant uptown and bring home chopsticks, and I would make my own drum kit.
Who was your first teacher?
Zeffro Gianetti.
What's the most valuable thing that person taught you about playing the drums?
He had me go through a book called Realistic Rock by Carmine Appice. Or Appice, however you say his last name. I actually never learned how to say his name because I've never heard it said out loud. But and it was the most. It just broke down rock drumming in a very simple and easily accessible and understandable way. But Zeph, who I'm actually friends with now, we reconnected years later, and Zeph's a badass, man. Zeph drives a Harley, goes hunting. He's a superintendent of schools, and he's a great guy.
Does he still play?
Yeah, he still plays. That's the best. When he has parties at his house,
he's not like fucking playing Mustang Sally and like
hell no.
Slow Ride.
His boys are all dope players. They're all ridiculous players.
Why is it that like after 40 you're like relegated to playing Slow Ride and Mustang Sally?
You shouldn't be.
No, fuck that.
You shouldn't be. No. I mean, all right, I get one so tomorrow. I'm getting ready. I'm getting together with two of my boys. We're gonna set up outside in this little parking area outside his house in Milton. And we're gonna be playing Schofield and Martin Medeski and Wood. We're gonna be playing some straight ahead jazz, some funk, some everything. We just play we're gonna play for like 3-4 hours, and we're all we're not kids.
No. Did I ever tell you about the time Buddy Rich took me on his tour bus?
Did he yell at you?
No, I don't think so.
You know about the Buddy Rich tapes, right?
I mean, I only know about the time he pulled me on his bus. Like I was trying to get an autograph after a jazz festival in New Haven.
Yeah.
Like my mom would bring us there in the summer times because they're like, it's like a free thing to do with your obnoxious little kids.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to get an autograph and they invited me on the bus and I met Buddy Rich. And then in 3rd grade, I was playing like a snare drum in the marching band. I was like, I want to sign up for drums. I thought I was going to be fucking hitting toms and a hi-hat.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, here's your snare. You're going to march with this. And I was like, this is lame. The instructor said, you're the next Buddy Rich. And I thought, hey, that's the guy I met on the bus. And it's so fucking cool. But clearly, I'm none of those things because at some point I gained like 80 pounds in 1 year. And they're like, no, take the football instead.
Yeah, you're going to be good at that.
Yeah.
Buddy Rich, man. So there's these tapes called the Buddy Rich tapes. Have you ever heard of this?
No, tell me.
Oh my God. You have got to look into this. It's going to completely change your view of Buddy. So Buddy Rich, and this is actually famous among comedians. If you look up the Buddy Rich tapes, you'll see Jerry Seinfeld talking about this. So he incorporated this into his show a couple times. He was notorious for being an absolute motherfucker to his band members, right? So he would be like, after the show, if there were any mistakes made, anything at all, he would berate you. And so somebody on the bus, one of the band members must have decided to I'm going to start recording this. He hits record on his tape deck and magic ensued. And I'm not going to attempt to recreate it because it'd be useless, but there's some incredible moments where he's just like yelling at a guy, saying to some guy, "You think it's easy up there without all the assistants? Let's see how you do, you motherfucker, you fucked up." Like swearing his head off, flipping out at the band. Like,
well, didn't a couple of years ago at Fenway, I wasn't at the show, but I think I remember someone saying that I think Jack White or one of his bands, like White Stripes, one of the incarnations was up there and he fucked something up on the guitar. And he's like, "Hey man, this isn't the Foo Fighters with 14 guitarists up here. When I make a mistake, you're going to hear it because I'm the only guy playing."
Ooh.
Yeah. Shots fired.
Yeah. No, but go. I'm telling you that's Buddy was notorious for this. So he apparently one time, and this is a story I heard from my first music teacher when I went to college, when I went to school for it, Ted Casher told me this story. He knew a guy that was in the Buddy Rich band, and they were out in the middle of the desert somewhere out west. And he was pissed at this sax player, Barry sax player, stopped the bus in the middle, kicked this dude off, threw his sax out the door, kicked his ass out the door, and took off. Left him.
Have you've obviously seen Whiplash?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the type of story that resonates with people who can relate with that movie. Like it's an abusive relationship almost when you're trying to be perfect at something.
You gotta, yeah. I don't know. I think there's a line that's got to be drawn though. You don't need to be it's amazingly entertaining though.
To me, it's a more of an idea of you need to read your student. So like, as I teach a lot of different types of people, I do my best to give them what they want or what they need, not what they want, in order to improve, like in the things that I teach them. I tell people all the time, the most valuable experience I ever had was working for a decade in the restaurant industry, in a high-level restaurant, a high-end restaurant, because you have to be able to walk up to a table, read every single person at that table, give them the interaction that they need before you know who's paying that check, and then turn it off when you go walk away, and then turn it on another table and figure the whole thing out again. So it's about reading people and giving them what they need to feel important and get the reaction that you need. Same thing with like teaching like martial arts. I walk into a room, there's 50 people in there. You know, the people who hide in the back, they don't want the interaction. The people who are up front, they want the criticism. They want all that. And then you've got to read, how do you give it to them? Is it tough love? Is it coddling? Is it nuanced? Is it like those types of things? So, yeah, Whiplash is a motherfucker of a movie. And you're right. There has to be a fine line. But I do believe that as the student, to be great at anything, you have to be ready to be selfish, and you're going to have to break some hearts from the people around you.
I had my ass kicked early on. I was studying with this teacher, Alan Dawson, rest his soul. He was amazing. And this is a guy that he taught a lot of the greats, man. He taught like a lot of the greats. He was very hard to get lessons with. He was actually in Dedham for a number of years. And I'm not going to bore you with it, but he taught everyone from like, you know, I mean, he had Dave Weckl. He taught Tony Williams a little bit. He taught, he taught Kenny Aronoff, who played with Cougar for years. Like, he taught so many different genres, rock drummers, jazz drummers, you name it. He taught everybody, because his whole method was teaching you how to be a better you, how to sound more like you. Right. Tremendous. Anyways, I showed up one day and I wasn't prepared for my lesson. One day. He put my ass outside.
Yeah, man.
He says, don't you ever come here. Don't you ever come to my house for a lesson where you're not prepared. Don't ever waste my time like that again. That's disrespectful. You offended me today. Get out of my house. It was unreal.
God bless him.
I was shaking. Like, I was like, never been spoken to like that in my life. My heart was broken. You know what I mean? I stood outside to wait for my parents to come back and get me. And my parents, we weren't making a lot of money. It was expensive to take lessons with this guy. I never showed up not crushing my lesson ever again.
One of the most valuable...
We need that. You got to get kicked in the ass once in a while, man. Dude, everybody needs to get slapped in the face. That was awesome.
One of the most valuable lessons I ever learned was, I remember I was like, I don't know, I'd come home from college and I was like training judo at the time. And I had wrestled my whole life. I was doing judo, and the judo instructor said, okay, we're going to test you for your belt Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, whatever the fuck time it was. I showed up like literally at 9:01. He goes to me, what time is it? I said, 9 o'clock. He goes, no, it's 9:01. The most important part of this test, you couldn't even fucking get right. Shuts the book, because you know, you got to sit in judo, you have to say all the techniques in Japanese and everything else like that. And he goes, you failed the test. You weren't even on time. I got up on a Saturday morning and I was here on time, and you couldn't even show me the respect of being on time. So
I like this guy.
I didn't train for a long time under him, but that was like over 20 years ago. And I implement that with my students when they test. The most important part of the test, motherfucker, be on time. I'm taking extra time out of my schedule.
Yeah.
I can be here on time.
It's good to get humbled once in a while.
It's real good to get humbled once in a while.
You know, we all need it.
Yeah. So during COVID, you were doing a lot of DJing on Facebook and shit like that?
I was all into it, man.
Which I thought was awesome. So
it was just something to do.
Dude, playlists and albums are so different. And I always think about what makes a great album versus what makes a good playlist. And the number one differentiating factor is you choose the playlist. On an album, they've chosen the playlist. You choose to buy that. So in terms of an album, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
You get hooked up on a blind date.
All right.
Okay. Bingo. You have a nice
Does it go well?
Well, this is the crux of the situation. This is why we're here. So you and your lovely lady,
I dropped lyrics on her and it's going smooth.
It's going smooth. You've plagiarized some lyrics from some other great men. Now she says, hey, let's go have a glass of wine at your house.
Sick.
Things are looking up.
Yeah.
It's date one. You don't get the choice of a curated Dave Sardella playlist. You have to put one album on. What is it? Now this album is gonna it's got to set the mood. It's got to tell her a little bit about who you are.
There's a couple of ways I can go here.
Talk to me.
All right, so here's the thing. What kind of lady are we talking about here? Are we really having just a glass of wine? We're chilling out, and is she like?
How about this? You see something in her, and you think, if I play my cards right, this could be a long-term thing that I'm into, and we're gonna have a relationship.
Oh, that's a different. Okay.
Right. It's a different thing.
So if it's that.
So now keep in mind when you open up the vinyl and you throw something on the turntable, you're also opening up a little piece of your soul.
Oh yeah. I got it.
All right, talk to me.
So this is the album. If it's that vibe. So versus we're gonna go back and we're gonna hook up, which is a whole different vibe. And I'll get to that one next.
Please.
Because that's the album. But so if we're gonna go back and it's like, hey, this is long-term Lucy right now. We're getting down, right? It's gonna go on for a couple months, maybe 6 months, a year, longer. Maybe we'll get mad. Who knows? First album.
She's gonna remember the album you dropped on date 1.
It's gonna be Wine Light, Grover Washington Jr.
Oh, you are a fucking pimp.
That's what I'm going with.
You are so smooth.
Grover Washington Jr. Wine Light.
You're letting her know that you're educated on music. You're letting her know that you're smooth. We're taking it slow.
Right, but you can also groove to it.
You can groove to it. Yeah. If you get caught up in that,
I could talk over it. I could have a conversation with it.
Don't get caught in the groove.
I'm telling you, man. There's no lyrics. You don't want the lyrics.
No.
You got to avoid lyrics when you're hanging. You want to have instrumental. I think, anyways. Depends on the lyricist. There's some nice stuff.
Well, it depends on you also, because sometimes lyrics serve as a means to say the things you don't have the words to say.
So here's my other album. If it's going the other way,
talk to me.
If it's downtime, you're ready to go. You're coming back and it's happening. The vibe's right. The energy's in the air. You can feel it. It's electric.
I'm getting pumped.
I'm playing Glass Animals, Zaba.
Are you?
Do you know that one?
No.
You got to get down with that. That's the mood, bro. Oh, that's the jam. You drop that album is sex. That album is sex. That album's unreal. Unreal. Get that on the album. Get that on vinyl and just keep it on hand and thank me someday. Just saying right now. That's it. Black Mamba. Oh, forget it. It's such a good album. It's such a good album. And then if you just want to just build something off of that, just start going down that avenue, that genre. I don't even know what you call that.
Well, let me back you up for a second, okay? So I want to talk more about.
And if she's like 21, 2 Live Crew.
Yeah. That's like an oldies for someone who's 21.
Hey, baby, I'm going to play something for you right now. Just want to tell you something about myself, how I'm feeling inside. Just drink this in. Just drop that.
All right, so let's go back.
So horny. What?
Let's go back to your album.
Glass Animals, baby.
No, the one.
Oh, Grover Washington Jr.
Grover Washington Jr.
Light.
Okay, so same girl.
Yeah.
Date 10.
Date 10?
Yeah.
What am I playing then?
What are you playing then? Because now she's got a window into your soul. You've probably consummated the relationship.
What are we doing? Oh, yeah, we got
same thing
several times.
No, same thing. Dinner.
Your man
wine.
Closed the deal.
He closed the deal. But you got, look, your job's not done when you close the deal. No, you got to keep her interested. You got to keep her on the hook. So you can't be like, here's my one good album.
10, that's deep.
And then next thing you're doing is playing Creed. You can't do that.
No, I'm not going to go there.
No, of course not. Right. So album 1,
that's a nut
you can't proverbially blow your load with Grover Washington Jr. and then drop back to Nickelback on date 10. You got to keep her interested.
Unless she's into the jock rock. Maybe you vibe it out one night. You're like, hey, let's jock rock out and play some Hinder, some Nickelback. We're going to like this fucking.
Is she coming over to play some fucking Madden, or are you coming over to have dinner? So what are you playing on date 10?
Date 10. So what are we doing on the date? Are we sitting at my place drinking wine?
No, you're doing the same thing you should always be doing with a woman, which is dating her.
You're like, let me teach you.
You're dating her.
Yeah.
You got to be, look, we're still going.
Yeah.
There's a difference between going out.
We went out, we chilled out, we had the whole night, we're coming back to the place.
Let me school you real quick. And let me school my listeners out here, all 11 of you. There's a difference between going out to dinner with your girl and dating your girl. Going out to dinner is something you do with her parents when they're in town. Dating her is what you do when it's just you and her.
That's right.
So you're dating her. It's date 10. You want to keep her on the hook, and you want to let her know that she's the apple of your eye.
Yeah.
She's the thing you're pining for, the thing you're yearning for, and you're not ready to concede and just put a radio station on and let the universe take over and supply the beats.
Right.
You're still in charge here. What are you playing
Right.
on date 10 to let her know that she's still special and that you still find her attractive and you are still wooing her? You're constantly wooing her. Don't ever stop wooing your lady.
You can't. It's a constant. It's a painting that's never done.
No, I like that analogy.
You're always touching it up. I think if it's date 10 and we're, everything's going well and we've had a great run. I dropped the Grover the first night. Now probably, since then we played some Miles. We listened to some Johnny Horton. We kind of took us some different places. I think date 10 at this point, if she's my kind of girl, I might go in that kind of Americana genre. I might bring some Lucinda Williams into it.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Nice.
A little, you know what I mean? I think that's, because that's like, she's got that vibrato guitar. It just kind of mellows the vibe. I set the lights right. We're just chilling. We got our vibe happening in the place. The mood is right.
And also now she's like, I thought I knew everything about this guy after date 9. And now he's busting out Lucinda Williams. I need to reassess what I'm thinking about this guy.
What's going on?
Keep him guessing. Keep him on the hook. Yeah.
How about you now? Let me ask you. First date. You go out, you get hooked up on this nice blind date. It's going well. She's a thinker.
She's a thinker.
She's a reader.
She can read. That's a bonus.
We like
she's
that.
either old enough or smart enough, or maybe both.
What's JC dropping?
I'm probably dropping Massive Attack Protection.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's aggressive.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, I'm an aggressive guy.
No, but I like it. You're like, this is what's going down.
Well, also it's a great album.
Wow.
It's a great album.
What if she's okay?
Or I could also drop some Mazzy Star on date 1.
Mazzy's great.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I could go with, and if she's like a little bit more like a
Cowboy Junkies.
But if there's more energy in the air, honestly, if I want to like set a mood, it's a different choice than if I want to say, hey, here's a little piece of me. If I'm going to say, here's a little piece of me, I'm probably playing some old school Rod Stewart.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm down with that, man. You're talking about like the Faces?
I'm talking about the Faces and Just After the Faces. Every Picture Tells a Story is a great album.
How about if your name is Rod, by the way? Can we just talk about that? Oh, I had a great idea. Side note, complete left turn we're taking right now. I have a great concept for an all-female Rod Stewart tribute band. If anyone's out there and don't want to do this, I think we should do it. We could call it Broad Stewart. It would be sick.
And you can manage them.
We could find a real throaty blonde chick who's just like, she's got that raspiness, but she looks like she's got the frizz in the hair, like she's a little busted.
Have you ever seen the guy that
But
runs
back
around?
in the day, she was hot.
Dude, there's a guy
Broad Stewart. You'd go see Broad Stewart.
I'd go see him in a heartbeat.
Broad Stewart would be sick.
Have you seen the dude who runs around South Boston who looks just like Rod Stewart?
Yeah.
He's at Whitey's a lot of times.
I've talked to him.
Is he Rod Stewart?
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So you have to know.
Every time I see him out, I play Downtown Train on the jukebox, and he doesn't get it.
Ah, it's a bum out. There's such an effort and a commitment to that look. He hasn't given up on it. Here's a guy that in about let's say 1982, he found that look. Okay, and he's like,
he stopped growing.
Okay, I'm done with that. I'm done looking for the hairdo. I get that part down. What do we do next? He's like, that's what I figured. I got the hair. The hair's set. Don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm gonna stick with this for the rest of my life. Like that guy. What's the guy? This is that lawyer that's on TV all the time. Oh God, it's not Sokolov, is it?
It is Sokolov.
The guy with the No, there's another guy. Oh, I can't think of his
JT
name.
Wentworth. 877 cash now.
It's
also because should consider
it's gonna
sponsoring
come
the
to
podcast.
me. He's got the worst 80s hairdo. Everything else is like, he's got the suit on, he looks like the lawyer, but he's stuck with that look. That's what this guy did, our Southie guy. He's stuck with that look. I've bumped into him a couple times. I've tried to.
He's a pimp.
I've tried to engage him. It's a depressing realization, though. When you get close to it, from far away, you're like, that's interesting. Then you get up close and you unpack the suitcase a little, and you see the damage that's been done, and it's tremendous. There's a lot of hurt. It's like a blonde frizzy scab that if you peel it back and you look underneath, it's oozing with pain and disappointment and bad decisions.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
That's what happened. I talked to the guy.
That's how I feel on Saturday mornings.
I don't know what's going on there. Because when you're that guy and you're hanging out in those places, you still have that look. Man, there's something going on that makes you still doing that, homie? That's what you're still going with? Like, really? You put work into that look today.
But he must have had some success with it.
He's alone every time I see him.
I mean...
Except for his beer.
Yeah.
He's making out with
Join the club. But...
Nothing wrong with that, by the way, people.
But at some point, he had success with it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stuck with it.
You know what? He probably had one amazing night where he was like... I feel like he, don't take this the wrong way, but I feel like he probably played bass, right? And he was in a band and he picked the bass because he figured, hey, there's 4 strings. How hard can it be? And then he did the gig and he hooked up with a chick and she was like a busted version of Joan Jett, and it went well and she did all the freaky stuff. And he's like, for that one moment, he was a rock star. It came together for him in that night.
So let him trade on that for the rest of his life. Who cares?
But 20, 30 years later now, whatever it is, he's still looking back like that's the apple he's still trying to reach. The carrot, whatever.
So you're in a bar.
Okay.
I give you $20. And I say...
I go play Keno.
And I say...
$69, $20.
This place sucks. This bar sucks. I'm giving you $20. And what I want from you is I want you to go to the jukebox and I want you to curate a playlist and I want you to get this place bumping right now.
All right.
What are you playing?
The first song. First song. I don't give a shit where I am. First song.
Tell me.
Low Down, Boss Skaggs.
Okay.
I'm opening up with that because everyone's gonna be like, "What the hell's that?" Oh, I like.
It's a head turner.
What is it?
Now you're still at the jukebox. People are staring at you.
Then I'm gonna throw on.
Pressure's on.
Then I'm going to throw on Shake Everything You Got, Life on Planet Groove, Maceo Parker. It's a good 13-minute jam. It's savage. You can't not shake everything you got.
Does it transcend ages? Like, are you going to go into the TAM?
If I played this for you right now, you'd stand up and be like, what the fuck is this? This is amazing. You'd start dancing.
Noted.
It's like that.
Okay.
That actually, by the way, that album, Life on Planet Groove, everyone should go listen to it, man. It changed my life.
Song 3.
Song 3, we come out of Life on Planet Groove. I'm going to slide into some Jay Dilla. Like a little bit of jazzy hip hop.
You're so much more contemporary than me.
Well, we're going to move. We're moving around. I go all over the map.
I know. That's why you're a professional.
Then I come out of that and then I'm going to slide into... Oh, yeah. I'm going to go into some Marvin Gaye.
Have to.
I'm going to play...
Inner City Blues?
Not Inner City Blues. I can't... Why is the name escaping me right now? It's the tune that Robin Thicke ripped off. But I'll play the original, not the Robin Thicke tune. Come on, what is it? I know you know.
All I know is that I didn't know that Robin Thicke... I didn't know his dad was Alan Thicke.
How about if your name is Robin Thicke? You better be Thicke.
You better come correct.
You better come correct. It'd be awful. So I was watching the news the other day, side note, and the newscaster's name is Steve Longman. Okay, right? And he looked like he fell out of a magazine. I'm like, dude, your name is Longman? Like, your name is Longman.
Is the Robin Thicke song Lost Without You?
Nope. I'm going to play it for you.
No, you can't.
I can't.
No, we'll get busted for copyright infringement.
But we won't do that.
Either way, I'm not even mad at him. So you got 4 songs. Give me song 5. You want to show your range here, but you want everything to link. You want it to link.
Song 5? I'm gonna roll in what I said earlier. Laid back girl, Maze, Frankie Beverly.
Okay.
That's a killing groove. I know you don't know the tune.
No, I don't know.
I'm all over the map right now.
I know, but that's why you're
Song
here.
6.
I'm here so you can educate me.
So song 6. How many songs do I get for $20?
10. We'll call it 10.
All right, we're gonna call it 10 tunes. You're like, I'm cutting them off at 10 because this is going off the rails. I would say
this is very informative and educational.
Song 6, Slave off of Tattoo You by Rolling Stones.
All right.
Now, by the way, that song, if anybody's listening, are you ever looking for the tune to play, no matter where you are, no matter what the circumstances are, if you're at a party, you're hanging out somewhere, and someone says to you, hey, dude, put the tune on the jukebox. Go to the album Tattoo You by the Stones and play Slave. Just do it. You'll thank me. It's killing. It never loses. Never loses. Okay? So
right.
where are we at? 6 now? Or am I on
6.
7?
Yeah, 6.
Now I'm on 7. All right. So 7. Let's see now, because now we're kind of winding the set towards the close.
Are you winding it towards the close? Or are you building to snatch something up and bounce? So there's two different motives. What is your goal with the set? Well, let's leave that alone. Just go to song 7, your natural song 7. Go for it. I should probably shut up.
I like where this is going. You should never shut up, by the way. All right. So now I'm going to go in a whole different direction. I'm going to go like Velvet Underground. I don't play.
Nice.
I'm going to play.
Because everyone's good and hammered.
Yeah, Waiting for My Man.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I'll play that one. And now it's in a different. Now the energy's a little different. Now I might go and play some Talking Heads. We're going a whole different direction.
Yeah.
Now, right? We're taking out of it. Then now we're on a song 9. Every Kind of People, Robert Palmer.
Okay.
Killer song. Everyone should.
So you took me down to the Lower East Side,
right?
As the Velvet Underground.
And then the closeout, to finish it off tonight, I would play the Robert Palmer trilogy, with Sneaking Sally Through the Alley and Hey Julia, and it starts out with Sailing Shoes, goes to Hey Julia, it finishes with Sneaking Sally. Now that's a group of tunes you could play at any bar, anywhere.
When I sober up and listen back on this podcast, I'm going to make a playlist of all those tunes. But let me ask you.
I feel like it's going to be crazy weird.
I'm not going to do it in the morning. I got to wait till the sun goes down.
I don't know. I don't even know what I just said. I love it.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, after you got the earlier notice that I am drinking tequila, and it is delicious.
So you started with Boz Scaggs. So that leads me to another question.
It's always my go-to start. I don't know.
You were the person that turned me on to something that I never miss anymore. You turned me on to Yacht Rock.
Oh yeah.
And then I never miss a show.
Dude, Yacht Rock's the bomb.
Dude, they're so good.
Homie, how good is that shit?
It's so fucking good.
So fucking good. By the way,
they're great musicians.
Just so you know, anyone that's out there, and they're like, if you're the kind of guy or gal that's like, I only listen to this kind of music.
You're a pussy.
I need to open your eyes up to something. I just want you to think about something for a minute, okay? You think about wine for a minute, okay? You don't just drink white wine with everything, right? Or beer, or whatever. You pair it. I might have red wine. I might have a nice Napa Valley Cabernet if I'm having a steak. I might, I got some pasta dish going on. I might want a Sangiovese. Whatever it is, you got to switch it up. Are you really going to listen to the same kind of music no matter what you're doing? You got to think situationally. You got to break into it and say, what am I cooking with my lady right now? What are we going to play in the background? That's how you got to think about it. But, always thinking about situationally what you're doing. What's the vibe? Am I working out? Am I going for a run? Am I driving in the car? Am I cooking at the house? Am I setting the vibe for the ladies?
So let me ask you this
That's
question.
the whole thing, though. You know what I mean? You got to think situationally about what's going on, and then matching the music to that vibe.
So you've worked in music, you've worked in restaurants, you understand spirits and wine. I know preferences involved a lot of this, but just like you can have like a wine and food pairing, and the wine and food will complement each other and highlight flavors and sensations. Is it possible, or do you do this, where you pair different liquors with different musical genres in order to complement and accentuate
I'm
feelings?
glad you brought this up. Let me tell you a little story.
Tell me a little story. You sounds like you're about to do a little George Thorogood.
Oh, man, I wish I could. Let me tell you something now. No, so I had never really understood mariachi. Never got it. Never quite understood it. Big, heavy set gentlemen wearing weird, amazingly bedazzled suits and big guitars and singing interesting harmonies. I mean, I understood it was a genre. I never quite understood it.
The opulence.
And then I was in Guadalajara. And it was 11 o'clock in the morning. It was about 98 degrees. I was sweating. I pretty much always sweat, by the way, even if it's a blizzard. I'm sweating, which I normally do in life. And I'm sipping tequila and sangrita, which is amazing, by the way. That's how they drink it in Mexico. They drink sangrita, not sangria.
Noted.
Sangrita.
Noted.
And tequila. And I'm in this open, this weird restaurant with no walls, no outside walls. They just had pylons in the corners and sort of some sort of a cover over us. So you're just kind of an open air restaurant. And I'm drunk on tequila. And I'm the good kind of drunk that you're not like, I'm still coherent. I can still talk. I can, still speak.
But you're getting
slurring.
there. But you're getting there.
I'm on the verge. But it's that perfect verge. Which, yeah, my glass did not look like this right now, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, but in that moment, I'm sitting there and I'm feeling the buzz. And all of a sudden, I hear the most majestic mariachi music emanating. And it's rich and full and beautiful and vibrant. And I turn around and there's 4 gentlemen behind me. And they're wearing these unbelievably just celebratory suits with like rhinestones and all this amazing, designs to them. And they got the guy's got the big guitar, and the other guy's got the little guitar, and they're singing, and the harmonies, this 4-part harmony, and they're tight harmonies. It was the most incredible moment. And in that moment, I understood mariachi.
Dude, so
I got it. I totally it hit me, and I was like, I get it.
I know people,
and the same thing happened to me, by the way, in South Carolina. But go ahead.
I know people that say, when you say, who's your favorite artist or what's your favorite song, and they say they don't really have one, and I always reply, you probably also don't have a soul. If you don't have a fucking favorite album or a favorite artist or a favorite song, you probably don't have a soul. There's got to be something out there that moves you in a certain direction, no matter what it is, even if it's like, working for the weekend or whatever.
I think we all had. I think everybody's got an album or song that hit them at a certain point.
What's yours?
I'll be honest. I have. There's a couple that come to mind for me. There's a couple that come to mind immediately. The first one was when I first started, way back. I first started getting into marijuana and smoking weed. I'd never really been high, and I tried it a couple times, didn't work, and then
third time's a charm.
And then when it worked, it was like, whoa! So that's what you guys were talking about. Okay, interesting.
How old were you?
I was, let's see, I think I was 16 or 17.
Cool.
When I first really got high. And then my brother went to Northwestern. And when he went to Northwestern, he joined a fraternity, Delta Upsilon.
Sounds shitty.
It was a good one. Dude, they had a cook that lived in the house, and he looked like a 70s porn star. The guy was amazing. He was like a fucking creepy motherfucker. And the whole place smelled like bad decisions and bar rot. And we're in there hanging out, and he had a 3-foot graphics bong in the middle of his room.
Kids don't smoke bongs anymore.
And dude, they should. They're missing out. Y'all kids should get into the bong. The bong scene is where it's at.
They're all vaping.
So one of his, fuck vaping. What is that?
Well, kids are a little bit weaker now than they're cut from a different stock. Please go ahead.
It's embarrassing. So one of his housemates was Calvin Pete Jr. Now, for those of you that don't know who Calvin Pete is, Calvin Pete's a famous golfer. And he's one of the first African-American golfers. Guy's tremendously gifted. His son was my brother's roommate. Calvin was the balls. And Calvin and I would get high as shit, and we would eat friggin' buffalo wings and get high and listen to music. Calvin played What Is and What Should Never Be by Zeppelin for me.
Great tune.
When I was high as fuck, and it changed my life. And I remember describing what I was seeing to him, and Calvin was just looking at me, nodding slowly with a smile on his face, as though he was looking upon his student who had arrived and finally, gotten to that place of realization. So Zeppelin, that song for me, Zeppelin, oh my God, it just changed things for me.
Ramble On is my Zeppelin tune.
Which one is?
Ramble On.
Oh my God, it's so good.
I started listening to that in 7th grade before wrestling matches, and I'll listen to it right now.
Can we talk about Eddie Van Halen at some point too, by the way?
We're going to get there. It's what a fucking bummer that was, huh? I want to go back. I want to come back.
What a gift he was. Keep going.
I want to come back to Eddie.
We're going to come back to Eddie later.
I want to talk more about the seminal albums and the points in your life where an album means something to you that you'll never stop. So
that's one of them.
Okay. So I think for me, one of the biggest.
I want to hear what yours are.
I mean, I think in 8th grade, spring break, I was hanging out with Mark Migliori and
good damn it, Mark. He's
fucking Mark. R.I.P.
Trouble.
R.I.P. And
oh really?
Yeah, we used to.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, everything dies. So we used to hang out downtown at College Wine, and there was a record store called Cutler's. So we'd pool our money together and we'd do all this shit. And I think I bought 2 albums in 8th grade. Well, after we got Kenny the Bum to buy us 40s. Kenny the Bum got us 40s, and then I went in and I bought The Replacements, Pleased to Meet Me, and then I bought Jane's Addiction, XXX. Boom. Life changed.
Yeah.
Life changed.
Oh, man. Remember when we would listen to albums? Remember when people... I joined... All right, I'm going to date myself. I joined a record club when I was a kid, and we actually got records sent to our house. And they would hang it off the little flag on my parents' mailbox. They put an elastic around the box. They had these cardboard boxes that were just the right size to hold an album, and they would hang it off the side of the box. You'd come home, you see this thing hanging there, and you'd be like, holy shit, The Who came, whatever. And you just order all these albums, and
it was like the predecessor to the BMG CD Club.
Yeah.
Like 1 penny. So not to cut you off, but the first thing I ever bought with my own money when I was 9 years old, I'd saved up a couple weeks worth of allowance, and I bought Thriller. And if you remember,
what an album!
If you remember the Thriller album, when you opened it up, he was in that electric white suit with the tiger. Oh, fucking the tiger!
Oh, it was so good.
And then the next thing I bought with my own money was Like a Virgin. And if you had Like a Virgin,
she was such a whore. I love her.
But
I love whores, by the way. I just want to be clear about that. When I say she was such a whore, it's a compliment.
It's the most positive
I want to be clear about that. A filthy whore. And I loved every piece of it. Sorry, continue.
The opinions of Dave Sardella are not necessarily the opinions of the Please Allow Me podcast and its host, John Edward Clark.
I don't care.
And so then, so I got Like a Virgin, and I don't know if you remembered.
She was not a virgin, by the way.
Unlikely. And when you couldn't open it up like Thriller, but the liner notes, one side was the lyrics, and another side was her in a like a bustier with pearls. And she was kind of doing this thing. And, when you're 9 years old,
got it.
When you're 9 years old and, that comes to your house and you're looking at that, I mean, that's a life-changing event.
Mm-hmm.
That's a life-changing event. And then the next thing you know, she's singing in Vision Quest, and it's boom. No.
The guy's wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling movie.
Now you're confused.
I am confused.
Madonna's on, and then there's
going
half-naked
on?
guys grabbing each other.
Why? What's happening with this? I want your cat to sit on my lap.
She won't. So let me ask you this other
I
question.
feel like she likes me though.
Well, she's very particular. Very rarely do we have an album later in life that has an impact on us. What album later in life, like after 25, has had a huge impact on you?
After 25.
Yeah, talk to me.
Life on Planet Groove, Maceo Parker. After 25. I believe that was after 25 when I discovered it. Maybe not. Oh, you know what? Back it up.
Boop, boop.
Thank you. I would say North Hills by Dawes. I know it's a completely different place to go. Do you like Dawes?
I don't know.
You never heard of Dawes?
No. So I'm going to segue really quickly. You mentioned earlier that you're a groove guy. I think I might be more of a lyrics guy.
Then you'll love Dawes.
Okay.
Dawes are songwriters, and they're a band that has a band vibe. And if you don't know what a band vibe is when you have a collective thought as a group that you kind of, it's unspoken and you sort of agree on it and you move in that direction. And it's a beautiful thing because you never have a discussion that says, this is what we're thinking and this is where we're going. You just kind of collectively arrive at the same place and you start to move in a direction. And when a band does that, beautiful things happen. And Dawes is that kind of band. They write as a band and they write lyrics that challenge you. They make you think about emotions and things that you aren't necessarily comfortable to think about and feel. And it's great.
I think that's a huge thing. And sometimes, like for me, I do a lot of Shazamming. So when I watch movies, there are a handful of people that put together some fucking killer soundtracks. And obviously Cameron Crowe is one of them. And Zach Braff did a good job on Garden State back in the day. But those are awesome. And I would say that for me, the later in life album that like punched me right in the mouth would be Jeff Buckley, Grace.
Oh my God.
Talk to me. What an album.
Real.
But I mean, he's a great musician,
Holy
but
shit.
I'm a lyrics guy, and I feel like he's one of those guys who says the things that we don't
his cat, by the way. Just want you to know that. I'm not kissing everybody, but I am.
She's
kissing.
great. But he's one of those guys that he had the ability to put to words things that we're all feeling. And I don't mean things that we're feeling when we're walking down the street at 2 p.m. I mean the things that we're feeling like in the deepest, darkest recesses of our soul, right before we've had too many cocktails.
Right.
And like you start to question everything about your life
to get real.
and your relationships. That's like kind of what Jeff Buckley is to me.
He's very vulnerable. So I think in that respect, based on what you're saying, I really think you'll enjoy digging into the Dawes catalog. They have a knack. The writers have a knack for tapping into those kinds of human emotions, those emotions that you feel on a very real level that you don't necessarily understand or have the ability to put into words.
Right.
They have this gift of pulling it together. There's a song they have called "Back to a Man," coming back to a man, and essentially what it's about is this guy who was in this relationship with this girl, and she broke his heart.
They always do.
Crushed him.
They always do.
Right. And the line in the song, and forgive me if I'm getting it, off a little bit, but it says, "You broke the heart of a quick giving kid, but now you're coming back to a man." It's heavy. And he's basically saying, you broke my fucking heart, you bitch. You crushed me. but I learned from you.
And I'm a forever changed
And
individual.
now you're coming back to me and you want to get back together. And I'm like, no, you're coming back to a man now. It's back to a man. And it's interesting because it's something personally I felt. I've actually been in a situation where I felt exactly like that.
Yeah,
and I know many other people have felt the same way.
I've never felt that way.
God bless you, dude. Like I did, man. You fucking dick. No, I did. I was in a, listen, let me break it down for you like this, JC. Let me break it down for you one time.
Talk to me.
So, when you meet someone you care about them, like obviously you become vulnerable, right? You like open yourself up to this person and you allow everything to hang out, all the cool shit, the negative shit, all of it, you let them see it all, right? And in that moment that you do that, you're allowing this person access to the most vulnerable parts about who you are. If you really want to be in a relationship, you got to be like, hey, here's all my weaknesses. Now, and you got to give them the opportunity to slay you in those weaknesses, to devastate you in those weaknesses. You got to give them that opportunity. And if you give them that opportunity and they don't devastate you and they treat you with love and respect and you grow together, that becomes a beautiful relationship. But if you give them that access to that vulnerability and they stomp on it, there's a couple of things that happen. One is you get your heart broken, you get hurt, but you grow. And then when that bitch comes back and she wants to get back together, hey, I was a kid. You broke me. I let you see my vulnerable, accessible, vulnerable parts of my, who I am. Now you're coming back to a man.
That is a fucking beautiful sentiment. I don't think I can top it. If this tequila keeps flowing and these mics stay hot, we keep looking inside our souls. Frankly, I'm afraid of what I might find, Dave. So I think that's going to be a great place for us to wrap it up.